scheduled.
We started the recording. We were saying, Julian, you want to ask your question again? Gary?
Well, I was going to ask, had Julian decided when he is going to do his talk on communication?
Well, now is a possible time. I looked at the times that you indicated in the doodle poll, and we can talk now, and we can talk in 2 days again.
Yeah, it's like we don't really have the quorum of people that said they were interested here. But I guess we can sort of...
well, I'll be honest, I thought that's why we were meeting this morning, but I see now that...
That's why we're... oh, it's not a talk, though. What it is it's a community collaboration.
Okay.
Julian has an application. He wants to integrate with Synereo, and I have applications of Synereo, and other people have applications of Synereo. So we're really just getting together to discuss the issues of identity and information that every application needs, and collaborate on providing that for our users.
Yes, and I want to express some things, but at the same time, Gary, if you also have something on your mind, I'm listening, and also if you have questions, we can start a topic from a question.
Well, I immediately picked up on your offer to hear about the subjects of identity and communication over the blockchain, I suppose. I'm hoping to get insight into how this thing works. And I know that you are at the level of having an image of how these things fit together. Mm-hmm. And I've started to realize the importance of both identity and communication for these distributed, decentralized apps. So yes, I'm sort of like a sponge right now, soaking everything up.
Okay. So I will say some things, and any of you can interrupt me and ask that we focus on certain things. So regarding distributed apps and internet decentralization, the Synereo team is developing software that would help all of us create distributed apps. And I've been interested in this for some time. I'm interested in general in any improvement or other major improvement that we can make in software development, and I'm actually interested in any improvement of the internet. But focusing on software, Ethereum seemed to suggest that we can redesign software on other grounds, and I'm very interested in that for several reasons. I'm not going to name them yet. I mean, maybe not before you ask me to. So my team also, so the Synereo team is developing a communication application of their own, and my team is developing one too. And I'm after these two things, among other things. One is that we want to develop starting from people, starting from users. And this implies, among other things, that we will keep communicating with all people, all interested people, in order to we want to discuss publicly with people about what they want and need, about how they would like their software, mainly their communication software, to be improved. Because according to us and other people who we have seen complaining, we, that is, we, the people, we, humanity, have not developed yet the optimal communication application. And when I say this, I refer to an application, the main version of which would be usable by any person, irrespective of their education and age, for instance. And so at the same time, it should meet many needs. So we would have to design many functions and to help each category of users to own the version that they want. And one of the reasons for which I'm interested in supporting Synereo and maybe cooperating with them is that we might, by creating distributed applications, we might help people have more control over their content, because applications are frameworks, you know, together with their databases, and they are valuable due to the users. And they are valuable in the first place to each single user or user group. So this is one principle that we have: as much control as possible to the people. And I said the word own. In our business model, we would like users to also be owners, and at the same time decision makers. So we serve them as we agree with them, and this agreement is both large and complex, because we want to design for humanity, for any number of people. If you say 1 billion users, all right, you know, but for any number of people.
Yeah, you know, I think you're echoing a large set of requirements here, and you know, they're not going to be solved today or tomorrow or the next day. But the Divi put in 2 Project 11 proposals, one on identity and one on communications, I can go over those. I think we've addressed a lot of the issues that you're raising here. But let me, I guess, I'll have to find where I am here. I'll share my screen. Trusted identity. Okay. I'll share the little screen for now. Probably should have shared the big screen. on second thought. But we have trusted identity project. I can't define the other one. And I have in here a copy of the Free Trust white paper, which we can look at briefly. Rewarding decentralized, trusted identity, privacy, and safely in trusted cyberspace. So this is part of the application. And we can see we have a lot of people from different organizations participate in developing this white paper. And it's a community-based, user-driven development for maintaining your own identity and get it to be trusted by national identity ecosystems. And I think this is a good background for the issues surrounding identity in the decentralized world, and putting a person in control of their personal information. And it has the notion of bring your own identity, so that you have right now you have many identities on the internet, and they're all part of your identity. That you can prove you're this person on Facebook or that person on LinkedIn or whatever. Those are identity factors, and they should be under your control, so that the only people that know that are the people that you want to know that. You need to identity proof yourself by your identities and such, and that way also when you come into synereo, you can bring an IP with you that starts you creating a strong identity. And essentially, in Free Trust, what we're doing is we're evaluating identity factors and factors in security, presence, privacy, presence. So the four quadrants: security, privacy, presence, and identity. And so the more identity information that is corroborated, the greener that quadrant in your icon will be. And the weaker your security is, for example, the redder it will be. And this, even anonymously, you can know how the person is trusted within your webs of trust. And closer to the center is your local community, your local circles of friends, and out at the outer rim is sort of a global. What sources do you trust globally? The United States government, maybe, and how much you trust the source determines the brightness of the color, or the weight of the factor total. So this provides a basis for trusting people. Whether they're anonymous or whether they have an avatar, or no matter what persona they're using, you have a basis for trust, and that's in addition to the social graces of synereo, where a person has to obey your social contracts in the sense that what Synereo does is it puts your contracts and their contracts together to find a subset of contracts, which is the area where you can collaborate. And it takes a lifetime to build the trust, but if you agree to a contract or you promote a contract and then don't follow it, you can lose that trust in an instant. And the idea of free trust is to promote building trust in the trustless environment. This would have plugins to existing social networks, and essentially Synereo would be the engine that would connect to the legacy systems of internet services, as well as to blockchains and IPFS data stores and such. It's not really a good, this isn't really a good overview of but I think it's definitely worth looking at. Okay, if we look at our current Divi project of trustworthy identity, okay, we have the Synereo Project 11 proposal, which is bring your own identity into Synereo. And we're funding this or rewarding participation in this project with Divi tokens, proof of cooperation. And this is the current team involved in it. And this is our timesheet where we basically record our hours and what we did. And then this is the basic proposal template. It's a collaborative document. Okay, we put in red anything that's critical now. And we established the norms for the group. In order for us to exhibit a collective intelligence, we need to have the same habits and same norms so that each of us can contribute a little bit. None of us has time to do any of it alone. So each of us does a little, and this sort of keeps us up to date on where things are and what's happening as current state. Okay, we have milestones set up. We didn't set it up in GitHub or Zen Hub, whatever it is yet. Although we do have that the Project 11 proposal. Federated self-sovereign identity with Synereo. You probably should look at that. Hopefully that will get funded, and that will be basically federated and integrated with identity ecosystem with OpenID Connect and user-managed authentication. And I can't edit this document. This is the final submitted. Skim, other things, standards. Aggregated from available identity sources to be complete identity on Synereo. User-managed voluntary disclosure and human-determined authentication factors. You get to determine what factors a person has to use to act as you on the internet. Okay, not the service provider. Well, you have to meet both sets of requirements, but okay, and we're using Ethereum Uport identities on Ethereum. They won't. They're not really. There is no preferred identity source actually, but our initial work is with euphoric, and we have our GitHub repository set up and things to support the euphoric identity on Ethereum, which allows you to manage multiple personas privately. And this will essentially be mirrored in synereo for people who bring a euphoric ID to the table, or one is created for them by synereo in order to provide their identity on the Ethereum network. Right now, DB is working all in Ethereum, and we're also planning decentralized blockchains using ERAs, so that you can peg assets between permission blockchains that you create for any purpose. You can create a blockchain for a raffle or for tickets to a picnic or whatever, anything you want, and create, your own tickets, which I've already created in principle. My Jim White Scarver dollars, which people can redeem for $1 for a certain time period, or they can sell them on the open market if they want. They might get more, but in any case, we're looking to grow the teams on these projects. Progress is very slow now because we're all very busy people. We have our hands in a lot of pots, but this is something we feel is very important, and we should together. We each do a little, we can get it done, which is the point of Divi. Yeah, this is kind of viewport focused, unfortunately. But that's where, that's what works today. That, we can start with that today. That's not really the focus of free trust so much. Whereas viewport is just one identity source. Okay, the other project is about communications. I think, any questions or on Trusted Identity Project? I will put the link to the folder in chat, if I can find the chat. I have to remember to label these things in the chat because later figuring out what they are can be a problem. The chat will be saved as well as the recording of this for the people who couldn't make it, I suppose. So the other thing, the other Project 11 proposal, we call synereo. Synereo? How do you spell synereo? Jitsi. I guess it's synereo. Hmm. Um, can't remember how we spell Jetserio, or I can't find it for some reason. It's XMPP. That's how I can find it. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the Jetserio project, I don't know why I didn't find it. I spelled it right. That name comes from Jitsi, which is the conferencing, audio-video conferencing like Zoom, but it's free open source software, and it's pretty damn good. But Zoom is better right now. So some people with low bandwidth are having problems with Jetserio, but if we're running it ourselves, we can tweak the parameters so that it works for everyone. Right now, we're accessing Jetserio through public servers, which can get busy or attacked, whatever. Running it ourselves in our own private networks or whatever would be a lot better. In any case, the Jetserio project connects XMPP channels to synereo channels, so that all the existing chat systems and other communication systems can get hooked into channels on synereo, giving us instant, huge amount of content on synereo. And also, you can create channel. Synereo becomes a client for the existing communication systems. So you can immediately use Synereo as a client to your other services and chats that use the XMPP standard for communication, like Jitsi. And most services like IRC and those are all gateway to XMPP. So you can use it for IRC, you can use it for video conferencing and everything else. Now, one of the issues we have initially is that the Synereo Alpha doesn't have the capacity to run to live stream video or audio. But using WebRTC, we can use Synereo to set up peer-to-peer connections between users using the WebRTC, and essentially use the process calculus and Synereo to orchestrate communication processes of any sort we want to orchestrate, where the actual communications never even touch Synereo necessarily. They can be peer-to-peer. And when the real Synereo comes out, we can run video through it, but we can also continue to use peer-to-peer connections for a lot of it, and basically keep it external to the Synereo network except for control. Be controlled by the Synereo network, but external to it. So it doesn't use any resources on the network at all for the peer-to-peer links. I'll also put the link to this in the talk. So those are the current collaborations in progress in these areas. You know, we're certainly open to other projects, and you know, not that we have that much time, whatever, but I don't know if there's any other communication issues we want to bring in. I mean, our projects are mainly to connect Synereo to the outside world in terms of identity and in terms of communications, because we don't believe the world will ever be homogeneous. There'll always be people that you want to communicate with that are on other networks. And we want, you know, you can control your permissions and things within Synereo, but your contracts should also be able to use user-managed authorization standards, you know, so that I can control, you know, who can access my bank account, okay, which is outside of Synereo. So I can, you know, in Synereo, I make a rule that my brother can access my bank account. It makes a UMA call to the identity system for my bank to give my brother permission to access my bank account. Sort of like extending the usefulness of the contract capability beyond. I'm not giving my brother that power.
No, you're not ever.
Not ever. You didn't even ask which brother.
That's enough.
Okay. I'll give him permission to control my thermostat when he's visiting here.
Good, we don't have one that works.
Now, we have no central heat or air conditioning here. Of course, in Florida, we don't really need it. All right. So any other topic? I mean, we haven't heard from you, Gary, on the identity and communications.
Well, I'm very excited to hear about how much development and thought has gone into community and identity. I guess I was thinking I was going to hear a little more from the dev level of addressing identity. I know that what you just talked about was up at the DAP level mostly.
Yeah. Well, you know, in terms of identity and scenario, okay, what they have is essentially a structure of identity claims or properties that includes a Bitcoin wallet ID and you know, an email and username and not much else. You know, we can think of that as, you know, just a JSON structure representing identity, which can then be expressed in JSON LD link data or the skin identity information exchange. I'm not sure what you're, okay, in terms of implementation, everything is private by default. And that's why you can't connect to anybody on Synereo when you sign up. It's because nobody has given you permission yet to see or do anything. You can't talk to anybody except the node admin, and nobody can talk to you. That's, privacy is the default. And unless you provide some contract or rule that allows the communication to flow, there will be no communication. Everything is private. So you can control privately in a mathematically verifiable way that your identity information is private, okay, except how you expose it, except by your rules. Scenario, your network, your rules, whatever their slogan used to be. It supports this anarchist perspective very well, in that you don't have anybody messing with you that you don't want messing with you. But not everybody's comfortable. People wish it was easy to do something public, and it will be at some point. The user demand for more public forums is going to cause us to create channels on Synereo that are very big. And then we have personal filters that determine what we get out of those channels. It'll evolve. You have technical questions, Gary. I don't know if I can answer them. I haven't.
Well, again, I'm here in sort of the sponge mode and soaking up everything that I can. Julian,
Yeah.
is your area of interest more in the DAP level, or when you talk about communication, are you interested more in the at the technical level and the area of communication channels and those sorts of things?
I'm not a software developer myself. We are going to communicate about the technical side of the applications with those people who are not bored by these details. What I can say now is that one of our main focuses is to enable communication that is as close as natural communication as possible. That is what we suggest, but again, the decision makers are the main decision makers are our clients. So to the extent that they allow us to make recommendations, we recommend, we would like to help people communicate almost as well as we do naturally without devices,
Yeah.
Yes.
I really like the classic Synereo interface a lot better than this GUI one. And I think we can still run it. I have to find out how to run the classic interface. I think that would be excellent, excellent starting point. Essentially, how that's set up is you have a main window, which is your basically your screen, what you're currently looking at. And in scenario, everything is a communication. Even your storage is communication channels. So it's got a common basis for communications, which is good for this kind of unification that you're talking about, of unifying all your communications. It not only unifies your communications, it unifies it with your group memory and your storage. So the classic scenario interface, or the spliciousness interface, has a center pane with a thread. On the left side, you have all your filters, and then there's a box in the top where you can drag up your connections, your channels, and your filters into your current stream, and essentially, curate your stream, what's in your stream. Now, obviously, when you have real-time mixed with asynchronous, you can only be near real-time. You're never going to be really real-time. Okay, in other words, I'm talking now. Now, when I stop talking, okay, I'm waiting for you to respond. But that stream may pause while you're responding to someone else, and then continue when you respond to me. And if I'm doing something else, your comment will come back when I get to it. So in our research at NJIT in communications, we found that the collective intelligence was much greater for the asynchronous groups than it was for the synchronous groups. And by allowing the conversation to become asynchronous, we continue the thread. We can continue the thread on many more conversations. We can think more responding. We don't always have to respond to our head. Okay, and this is the kind of communication that we want to build in the future. Both synchronous and asynchronous at the same time. If it happens to be synchronous, wonderful. We don't demand it. We can answer right now.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my, some aspects of it. Basically, we need. Ultimately, it requires some artificial intelligence to give us the content we want. We're never going to develop all the rules ourselves, and this is the cool thing about the reactive program. It learns about what you want, so it will default to giving you what you want. And if it gives you something you don't want, then you make an exception rule, and that gets added to the your rules, so that it learns continually. And becomes what you want to see when.
I've not really been able to follow you because are you aware that you've made a loud noise for some time?
I don't think it was me.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to Julian.
Sorry. I can mute myself.
Yeah, Leonard, please mute yourself. I can mute him. Oh, he's muted. Yeah, it was Leonard.
It's fine. We discussed any detail, including noise. So,
Yeah. So I hope you caught some of that anyway, Julian.
beg your pardon?
I hope you caught some of that. But, you know, I mean, you know, the future vision, you know, that I think that, you know, we're all seeking here is one where we're free to interact with whom, when, and where we want, and we are involved. We can get involved in whatever interactions or conversations we want to, when we want to. We need to relax the time constraints, although we can still plan synchronous meetings. But you know, it would be nice if people watching this later could contribute, and we would automatically see their responses, you know, on this stream, so to speak. And that's how we can better develop a collective intelligence of a larger group of people by removing some of those time dependencies.
Yeah, I support this goal. I have now an image, and I don't know when we can actually develop such a thing. Something like a global database in which we could find virtually anything. Something which the internet is not at the moment. A database in which things were better linked. I was talking with Fyodor Barkov, I think, somebody who got in touch with you, participated in the last scenario call from last Wednesday. And yeah, he said that he talked with you about the possibility that many applications can use data from one application, something like this. And I think something that we can improve is the fragmentation of data. At the moment, one issue is that quite a large percentage of information is hard to get by. I could call it hard to get by any standard, but at least by today's standards, when people want to have quickly not only information but also a usable overview of the information and an integration within their context, not only into their software environment, but integration with their context, so that they can plan and act more quickly and effectively. And I imagine a global database and an application which should help us to use it, that would easily, you know, for instance, let us imagine any individual that would like to connect and manage all the aspects of their lives, you know, anything, any group, any business, any place, any resource. And for most individuals, even for those who have used the internet for many years, it is still not really easy to do this.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, this is something that we could do in the early web. We could, you know, annotate things and share them with our friends, and we could do a lot of, you know, now when you go to Facebook, you have to use their interface. Okay, in the decentralized web, okay, you'll have all the information available, but you'll choose the interface. It's your interface. So in essence, you know, the way I see it is Synereo will be my interface to everything. Every service that's out there, every API, okay, will use essentially the language I create to access it and manipulate it in the interface that I have for it, and you know, that is shared with me between people I know. Okay, it'll bring user programming to a new level in that anybody can make a Facebook interface. Okay, and you know, it's, you know, it's easy for us to share our programs in a safe way, in a provably safe way. And of course, you know, there's always a risk that, you know, we could run contracts that could be gamed against us or whatever. So we use them in trusted communities that have a norm of non-aggression, okay, and that punishes aggression by loss of reputation, etc., and a strength of identity. But the ability to that the application becomes contracts on the blockchain, or you know, it's on Synereo, separates the user interface from the application and gives us the freedom, once again, to make the interface our own. It, you know, was prevented on the internet by commercial interests. It's something we did early, but they made it impossible for us to do it today. And that's the way they keep control. And they control the interface we get, not us.
For instance, Google.
Yeah. And now, as far as the data linking goes, okay, the idea that we have this huge knowledge base that Google maintains and does searches on is not really adequate. As you were saying, it doesn't really give us access to data that we can feel and touch and operate on. But, you know, the efforts like the semantic web that's publishing these anthologies and information in a form that we can program access to. So if we use these standards for our ontologies and data sources, and we don't care whether they're in JSON, LD, RDF, or comma-separated values. Okay, as long as we have an ontology that we can use to access them, we can access them all the same way. We don't need a separate interface for every different data source anymore. And this is a great vision, and you know, something that I think Synereo will facilitate, and largely be the database way. The indexing in Synereo is a really good compromise of random keys and structured keys. and the distribution, and everything will be on the R chain, and will be redundant, but not not completely redundant. There'll be enough copies around to verify, and everything is formal mathematically included, so you can even verify, you can even re-verify it after the fact to make sure it's correct.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in a decentralized environment, we need that in order to be safe. In order for it to work reliably, it has to be mathematically perfect, so to speak. It can't have bugs in it. I think there'll be independent implementations of the R chain. In different environments, I'm looking to also bring the R chain into the Internet of Things, so to speak, and make small, lightweight R chain pieces that can connect to synereo. I mean, there's lots of things I want to do, but essentially that is our database, it is our memory, but it's connected to all the legacy sources. Everything new that we are collecting can be incinerated. It's like everything you do is on your resume. Okay, in other words, if you do some work for Divi and you get 100 Divi tokens, okay, that's on your resume. That's part of your identity. The synereo philosophy of identity is you are what you do. Mm-hmm. And for now, that's represented as a transaction on Ethereum testnet. Okay, that's what the Divi is doing that for now. And the idea is that, if you don't trust anything, you need to record. You need to, in essence, get a consensus of blockchains. You don't trust any blockchain because nobody knows everything. There's always a risk. But IPFS is going to be the important data, a very important data store, mm-hmm. Just about everything. And the R chain itself is going to contain data. And then on the outside, we have peer-to-peer. Where and I guess it could end up all being peer-to-peer. I actually don't know the details of the new architecture. Currently, it's using MongoDB for communications between nodes. So I'm not sure how the new architecture is going to work.
Mm-hmm. So have you just mentioned the interplanetary file system?
I'm sorry?
Have you just mentioned the interplanetary file system? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. That's the decentralized internet. Mm-hmm. Is largely going to be that. And, our lightweight blockchains will all be on IPFS.
Mm-hmm. Well, I listened to Julian Bennett talk about this, and I wrote him. It seems that he's seen my message, but he hasn't replied for a long time. I don't know. Yeah. Because I'm interested in cooperating with such people. I think that we can improve computing together, when I say we again, now it means we the people.
Yes. And, and getting people to collaborate is hard, and that's why we're trying to provide incentives
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the proof of collaboration token,
Mm-hmm.
which we're hoping to back with amps and other things. We have a small marketplace. 104 Divi per year will get you a website on a collaborative server. We can run debate services. What else? Something else. But among ourselves, we can, have a sharing economy by accepting Divi tokens
Mm-hmm.
as recognition of cooperation when we share our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We get credit for it. And hopefully that credit we can take to the bank someday.
May I say something about messages in a communication application?
Sure.
Yeah. And of course, if you please, you can express your opinions about the current messaging, what you like and what you don't like about it. At least two things that could be improved, maybe with a single move. We think that one type of message framework would be enough for many things that we post using a computer and in the first place for messaging. At the moment, okay, let's start with Facebook. They were the first to introduce this system. They created two types of messages. One is the post, and the other is the comment. I don't mention replies because they are technically identical to comments, and I think I needn't dwell on the Facebook notes, or they look like blog posts, because they serve the same purpose as the posts themselves. And we'll see what decision we reach together with the users. But we suggest now a single type of message. That is, we would create a framework for each person that would include any function from a service like Gmail, from a service like Google Blogger, and from a service like Google Plus or Facebook. I'm referring to the post. So because people want to get out a message, and we want to include all the functions for any type of message, from the simplest message that would include only text to a message that will refer to any other content that could embed different types of files. We would take, integration to the maximum possible level. That means that, for instance, one can create an article, for instance, in an encyclopedia, and purpose it as they please. If you want to discuss more this image, this idea, we will.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand completely. I think you were suggesting, in part, you were discussing having a linear structure of comments in the discussion rather than having a hierarchical structure of items with replies and replies to replies and replies to replies to replies etc. I'm not sure I understood your point there.
Well, that part. Okay, so I now I referred to the framework that would enable any structure message a person could choose, and that other part, the second message and so on, the entire discussion. The image of that discussion is a network of messages that are equal, because at the moment, a post is not equal to a comment.
Right.
It's not given the same status, and the author of a post can delete your content. Why? Because there are people who spend 1 hour on writing a 300-word comment, which is valuable and shareable, and you cannot share it, but it can be deleted forever. And I don't think it's fair to anyone that somebody else has total control over their life, because they spent energy on that. And I think we should bring this closer to the social agreements that we have. Let people behave naturally instead of introducing totalitarian behavior based on what? On the fact that software developers don't spend enough time, to serve their clients. That is not acceptable for my team. We're here, so I want to spend, it doesn't matter how much of my life, to serve humanity and to help people communicate well,
Well, what you're talking about in part here is curating a stream. And, when a stream, has a bunch of different topics all mixed up and stuff that's off topic and whatever, a curator for the stream, like a Slack admin, will from time to time delete messages. Now, it would be nice if you could organize those messages into topics as well, so that the topics weren't all mixed together in one stream. But while you were talking, I got this really cool vision of visualizing or looking at the streams in 3D, and the scenario interface is going to have some of that in terms of seeing the structure of the channels coming and going, coming in and going out. So you'll have a tree of stuff coming in and a tree of stuff going out from the item that you're looking at in the middle, which is kind of cool. It's sort of like giving you that could give you a 3D view of the items as well, where you have a graph of items by topic and time and author.
Yes.
Now, if so that graph is universal. Everybody has the same graph, so to speak. But you also have to, you have filters on channels, so you could still have stuff in effect deleted from the channel you're looking at. You can't enforce a channel to have all the items on it. But you could always still see it, still be visualized in the sense that there's a connect. It could show you in the interface somewhere that there's a connection there missing that you can hover over to see what it is.
Yeah.
There's ways of maintaining it, and to some extent, your stuff is going to be filtered by your Rio or reputation ratings as well as your rules. So you might have things that are smaller or, you know, only visible when you rotate the diagram or whatever, the chart. In other words, you've got a connection of things that are related and they're related in time. So it becomes a 3D graphical structure or n-dimensional graphical structure.
I
Thought, I don't know. I think that, you know, that the interface of the future will be something like that.
Yeah, I think it's time we tried to provide information in 3 dimensions. For instance, so that people can you know, see and define relationships, you know. And this would also, I mean, with this design of messages, this would and messages would be threaded, you know, in a network, and each contributor can take the discussion where they please, because this is how the brains function. I mean, each person associates things according to their personality, or associations vary with time, and so on. And a reader can go with a wave, can go to any part of a conversation they want, you know. And this would also help reach more quickly a part of a network in which one is more interested. And another, yeah, Jim, we cannot hear you. Another thing in which I am interested is notifications. At the moment, many applications offer rather simplistic notifications, and we think that regarding notifications and let's say in the same way other application parts, we can create categories and schemes of notifications, and allow people to configure them in more complex ways. For instance, one can create set of notifications which they can enable or disable when they please. Of course, they can schedule such operations. This means that in this ocean of information, this would be a method of curation and organization, you know, so that people can focus on what they want when they want. This is not easily reachable because we're so on the one hand we suggest something more complex, so people would spend a bit more time configuring notifications. And
the idea of building an interface that anyone can access at any level of technical expertise, and then give them the ability to customize that interface to suit their needs and to develop the networks that they want to operate in and to gain value from and to contribute value to.
yes, I'm following you.
Well, I'm agreeing with what you say, Julian, and we're a long way from it. But I see us as I think a lot of us see the potential that is out there for the ways that we can improve the ability of people to form creative and valuable communities that they can both survive in and thrive and prosper in. And I don't see this this revolution that the blockchain and the cryptocurrency and the smart contracts and the distributed decentralized I don't see that limited, the benefits of that being limited to the technocrats and
Yes.
and those that can afford the technology even.
Well, what we have here is evolutionary programming, okay, with synereo, because it creates an environment that's capable of evolving. And what we're starting with is pretty powerful there. What we don't have is today, we don't have it. But a lot of the idea, we can build our interface, we can build our, we have, our contracts for notifications are arbitrary. And, what widget we use, we're choosing the interface, we're choosing the contracts, we're making the rules, and we're sharing, our filters and tools and widgets and things that we find useful, we share with our friends. We use them in our organizations. But, they become, by having common habits in an organization, we develop a collective being of that organization, which, can foster the collective intelligence. And that's what I'm hoping to facilitate.
What about this being that you're talking about creating as an organization? Could you talk about that some more? Or did I mishear what you said there?
Yeah, well, organization is identity too. People have identity in organizations. Teams have identity. Okay, anything that has identity, okay, or given an identity, or your refrigerator that's an identity. But it has a set of programs around it, okay, that control it, and behaviors that it has. Okay, it's modeled with the process calculus, the pi calculus. It's communicating processes. But these identities, or nodes, or channels, whatever,
I'm getting the vision.
Their environment gives them a behavior, okay, which in an organization can exhibit groupthink. Generally, the larger the group, the worse the decision, or a collective intelligence, which is a solution that's better than the best individual solution in the group. Okay, this is the research I was involved with at New Jersey Institute of Technology for 25 years on group systems. we had controlled experiments that measured collective intelligence and factors. And of course, since those days, there's been a lot more work done in that area.
So I can envision us creating a lot of these virtual identities that do these different things extremely well, and that now
and are autonomous.
They're autonomous, and they're perfectly good entities, or identities, I should say, just like I am an identity, and you can respond to me because of what you know about my identity. But if I was setting up a corporate robot and was pointing the camera at it and letting it interact with you, I don't suppose you would have any problem with that either. But that's almost a ridiculous example of the idea of identity at the contract level, increasing the number of valuable interactions that can happen.
Well, the thing is that we will have this intelligence available, which is like the whole network of Synereo is one big artificial intelligence that we all share, and it's an expert system. We give it rules, and then it invokes those rules to act on our behalf and to protect us. Okay. And as we give it the rules, we're automating ourselves. More and more things we can have it answer for us automatically. Okay. And so by the time we die, we become superfluous. All the questions are answered by our proxy object, our user agent on the Synereo network, which is the collection of our rules and our experiences.
When you said that Synereo, the Synereo, it's a two-part question. When you said that Synereo would be like a middleman for interacting with many other applications, could you say a bit more about this so that I get the image? So do you refer to...
Synereo is our identity, will become our identity system. Okay, so anything with identity, all the contracts will be in Synereo. I'm not saying there won't be also contracts on Ethereum, but hopefully they'll know about each other. If they don't, they're not in the same world anyway. Okay. But which is cross-blockchain interaction is one of our interests in Divi.
Mm-hmm.
So we have identity. We have a proxy object or ghost object. Let's say we have a sensor, a temperature sensor. Okay, we have a ghost object that monitors it and answers questions about it. It acts on its behalf on the internet, and reports problems. It becomes an intelligent agent for that temperature sensor that's autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, we automate ourselves when we, everything we say and do is part of our identity, and from that, our intelligent user agent can predict what we want to do next, what we want to see next. It can choose a default for us. And we may end up just saying, okay, every time our agent wants to act on our behalf or suggests what it should do to act on our behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, we become superfluous. Okay, our agent can act as us, and well, move on to other things.
When you say scenario, do you refer to scenario main application?
Well, the network, the R chain.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's the next internet. Okay, I'm not saying there won't be something similar, but it seems like it will be first, and it seems like it will meet a lot of the requirements that we have.
How do you plan to identify people?
Well, read the proposal. The link's in there. But essentially, what you do is what you are. So, you know, if you work 10 hours, you know, for Divi making a video, that would be part of your resume, which you could share with other people. It's recorded in the blockchain somewhere. Okay. If you say you're 32 years old, okay, and I verify it, that fact, then that better be true, or both of us lose reputation.
How do you verify something like age?
Well, it's you know, free trust is you trust who you want. Okay, if you trust the if you trust the Bank of America that verifies that I'm 32 years old, then you believe it. Okay, you have many in scenario we aggregate all your identity sources. So I am the same person that's Jim Scarver on Facebook, or that owns this bank account, or any fact about myself becomes part of my identity, and I make the rules as to when and who gets that. I mean, I'll give anybody my phone number. Just give me 20 Divi tokens for it.
Yeah. Facebook doesn't provide any identification in itself, and banks, at least in my part of the world, don't really identify people. They see the national identity card. They're not an identity provider.
Yeah, well, national identity is something else. I mean, we put in several proposals to NIST, and are part of the ISEGE where essentially the National Strategy for Trusted Identity in Cyberspace tries to decentralize it. So you can use your one-name ID to log into government services. Okay, they're decentralizing and federalizing identity, and the director last year, or whatever, in his keynote speaker, said proudly that even an individual could be their own identity provider and be part of the national identity ecosystem. Okay, the problem is nobody would trust it. Yes, we have the standards, we can do that, but in order to make it trustworthy, we have to make sure that everybody knows you're the best source of identity information about yourself. And if you're willing to voluntarily give that piece of information, okay, then everyone agrees, it's unanimous, that you're the best source of information, and so you can be believed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and verified. Okay, you can say, well, I'm 32, and you can verify, and I can agree to verify that. Of course, I may need some Divi tokens to do that, or Bitcoin, whatever, amps.
What if we created a global identity provider?
That's exactly what we don't want to do. Okay, we want to decentralize it down to the individual. That's the only solution. The only reasonable solution.
Okay.
And there'll never be one monolithic system. Never. Okay, so we should not even consider making one. And I think that's what most of the people on the core scenario want to do, is they're not looking outside. They're not looking to connecting to the outside world and the outside channels much, okay, because they're thinking the scenario will be ubiquitous. Everybody will use it. That will never happen. What we need is interoperability. That's what Divvy's about. But definitely check out the pre-trust paper and let me know if you have questions. I mean, the identity is just essentially standard skim document or something else. It's just attributes and values and well, proofs, okay? Because proof, who can verify it? Okay, the idea is that if I'm anonymous and I'm talking to you and you want proof that I'm a U.S. citizen, then some source has to verify it that you trust. Okay, I can give you a key that allows you to find out whether or not I'm a U.S. citizen. But it doesn't tell you anything else. It doesn't tell you my name. Okay, but only I could have given you a key to find that out. It's a one-time key that never works again.
Mm-hmm.
It's proven secure. And in terms of the interface, you just click on it. You don't even know what's behind it.
Okay, and this person, verifies with their source. Okay. Who is this identificator? Who are these identificators?
Everybody. Okay. Okay. I can verify that Gary's over 21. Okay. Anybody you trust that can validate it. Okay. And this will be. It's not going to be free. I mean, there's going to be transaction fees. So your bank will get paid for doing these verifications, or even the government, maybe. It's every identity, whatever identity sources you trust. And, the question is, what's their incentive to do it? And that's, that's transaction fees.
Yes, okay. So any person, but not any person is authorized to, not authorized, how should I put it? So even if person A trusts person B to verify that person C is a USA citizen, person B may be unable to identify person C positively as a USA citizen.
That's true. Well, that's it. You have a source of the data. I mean, we attended a NIST workshop on attributes last year, and the attributes of the identity factors, include how the trust in the source. Where did you get the information from? And then how much does he trust in?
Yeah.
And I have the information that he's over 32, but I trusted this much.
Yes.
Okay, so that should be in the white paper. Right? I don't think it's in there. But that's part of the NIST the framework, which is essentially damn good. And if we use it, we have a high likelihood of becoming part of the National Federated Identity. In which case, a synereo ID would be good for government services and proof of they could verify your factors. It's like, when you log in with an open ID to Joe Schmo,
Yeah.
okay, and you and the government service lets you be your own identity provider, then it proves, well, in other words, you can pass attributes around voluntarily. With you just simply using the OpenID protocol.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hard thing to do. All we have to do is keep the attributes and serve them, and interface with the protocols of the outside world. I mean, we're running an OpenID provider that connects also with the Shibboleth network of 25 million educational accounts, and SAML, which is used by most corporate organizational networks, as a unified identity, all together. You know, your educational account is verifiable, or your organizational account is verifiable. It's verifiable facts about you, along with attribute values that it allows to be passed. You got that?
Yeah.
You know, everything is private in Synereo by default. You have to give permission for any. You have to provide a rule for any information to be given out.
And I'm interested in when one wants to create an account with Synereo, how do you suggest that that person identifies themselves?
Well, right now, you know, it's being done half manually. I mean, ordinarily they verify an email address, and that's it. They're in. So the email address is proven, but nothing else. But the email address isn't shared. Nobody knows what the email address is. All as you know is that everybody else verified an email address.
Yeah. Yeah. So an email address can provide as little as 0 identification, and I'm interested in a way or of identifying people positively, person by person, or in an agent that does this for software developers.
What are you trying to do? Associate the Synereo user with some real user out there? That's what pre-trust is, focused on. In the Synereo philosophy, the only world is Synereo, and the only thing that matters is what the person does on Synereo. That is his identity, and
I'm interested in an identification system that can also be used offline. So in general, in what I do, I'm interested in the effects on people's life. And one aspect is this, that I imagine identification should be possible both online and offline in the same way. Because one group of functions that we're going to provide in the communication application is voting functions. And these functions should be usable by anybody for anything, including for electing government. officials.
Yeah. Well, here's the vision. Oh, where did you go? I lost you guys. Uh-oh.
We're not far.
Looks like I'm going to have to go. I'm getting in there.
I have to run myself.
Yeah, let me show you one thing here first to answer your question or to address your point there. I don't even know if you can see it, but this is an example of what you're saying, where I walk into a bar and the bartender says, "Are you over 21?" And I point my QR code. I point my QR code at him, or I hand him my QR code on a piece of paper, and he sees my picture on the screen, and it says this person is over 21. Okay, that's all. It doesn't give me my name, my address, my other details. All it does is a trusted source that I trust that this person with this picture is over 21. It's an in person. That's how it's used in person.
Gary, before you go, can you react with some words to what we've said?
Well, I've enjoyed listening to the conversation. I'm not sure I've been able to contribute much to it other than there is someone out here who is very interested in exactly the sort of things you're talking about right now. And again, we're painting pictures with broad strokes.
Well, we're tired of talking. We want to do it. We need help building it. We need help doing it. That's what we need now. Okay, because it's complicated. It's not like there's a really simple solution. It turns out to be damn complicated. And but we have solution. We know it. We have a vision. Okay, and it's going to evolve. We're not going to figure it out every detail in advance. We have to use quantum choice, delayed choice, least action, first opportunity. Okay, and that's somehow nature does that perfectly, but it's hard for us.
Right. Well, I'm very optimistic, and I just want to say, will we continue this discussion on Wednesday? Did I hear that mentioned earlier?
No.
Okay.
I think Julian was saying that he was considering having another one.
Okay.
There was another slot that everybody could attend.
So as you please. So we can decide when we talk again. Anyway, we'll be in touch. In the beginning, I said that we can talk today or on Wednesday, but of course, the fact that we've talked today doesn't really exclude any other day. I mean, if we want to talk on Wednesday or any other day, we can decide on this. And we can also change the focus if you want to address other things.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. And if it turns out that we meet again on Wednesday, depending on when we meet, I may be available. And Jim, did you fix the problem in your public server?
No, I gotta go. Okay, so this is. It looks like 11 a.m. Wednesday is the best time.
Yes. I mean, what do you think? So I understand where you live, Jim, and I don't know your time zone, Gary. So
Well,
what do you?
this is everybody in their own time zone. So these
Yes,
people.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so the most people can. So Wednesday 11 looks like a good time.
Mhm. I mean, for instance,
People didn't fill it all the way out to the end, I don't think. So
no,
we don't even know yet when we're going to be available. But so we'll do Wednesday at 11. Sound good?
That's good.
yes,
All right. See you then or sooner.
See you then.
and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and I enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll find some people willing to collaborate that will do everything for us. But in the meantime, we have to do everything ourselves.
I'm optimistic. Jim, is this video going to be available at a web address that we can visit?
Yes. It won't be put onto YouTube raw, but highlights from it maybe go on YouTube.
All right. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, if somebody's willing to do that. We'll see.
Okay.
Yes, I was
There you
just.
go.
This is work. Yeah.
Yeah, if everybody does a little, it'll all get done. I mean, we got everybody to do it. We just have to cooperate.
I understand. I am open towards you as a human being. We'll see what agreement we can reach. At the moment, I have planned quite a lot. So maybe for 1 month I shouldn't promise anything.
Yeah. Well, do what you can. You know, even if you make a spelling or a correction, or you're reading one of the documents and you're thinking, what about this? You make a comment or you propose a change. You know, just little things here and there. We'll get it done. Just do something. Don't do nothing.
Jim, you've shown again that there is valuable thinking done by your team, and I like it that you communicated. You know.
Thank you for. I mean, you started this thing. You know, this is your collaboration that's starting here. I'm just jumping on the bandwagon.
Okay. Let's create a band and move a wagon.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I really, this is the kind of activity that we need as a community, and you came to the table. I'm really appreciative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Later. Bye bye.
Goodbye.